Dietitian from Lee Health Solutions, and she's going to talk to us tonight. This is our second class, but it's our first class on nutrition. So she's going to help us decide what we should or shouldn't put on our plate. Okay, so Heidi Miller.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. As Charlotte said, I'm a dietitian with Lee Memorial. Lee Health Solutions is our little weight management diabetes part of it. When I first moved to Florida, I was working for women, infants, and children for a while, doing the nutrition counseling with the moms and babies. And then I did more of the clinical side. I worked at a small hospital I worked in Tarpon Springs. But clinical, it gets tough. So I'm doing the outpatient side, the weight management, diabetes, hypertension. So I really like it. I've been doing it for a little bit over a year with Lee now. So it's been really good. So hopefully I can give you guys some good tips just from what I've seen with my clients, the success they've had. Hopefully I can share with you. If you have any questions, maybe just jot them down, and then I'll leave some time at the end and we can go over everything. Can everyone hear me okay? It's been a long day. I'll try to project. All right. So we all know the problem, the obesity epidemic. These numbers are growing pretty rapidly over the years. 1 in 3 children are overweight or obese. Pretty much the same amount of adults are obese at 35.7%. We know this increases our risk for chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, all that stuff we want to try and control. And obviously it's costing, as you know, the healthcare a lot of money. Chronic diseases are some of the most preventable diseases too, by just taking control of our having a healthy lifestyle. As you can see, back in 1985, this is just the amount of self-reported obesity. I believe it's about less than 10%, 10 to 15% is the blue. So not much going on there in 1985. And now here we are, this is from 2011. I'm sure it's even a little bit different now, but just the higher percentages, all over the country. So just how quickly it has gone up, fairly high. So, really why we need to kind of get control over this thing. Okay, and just some of the reasons why, we tend to be putting on the weight over the years. Portion sizes, I'm sure you know, have just gotten out of control, especially restaurants, movie theater, that kind of stuff. Just everything's bigger is better now, so we need to kind of scale back to the old ways. Lack of physical activity. A lot of jobs aren't as active as they used to be, so, desk jobs, more sitting. So just trying to figure out how we can incorporate some of that activity back into the jobs. Obviously the cost of food is going up, especially with the economy now, especially just the perception of healthy foods being more expensive. The busy lifestyle, we're go, 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 always on the run. So it makes it really easy to swing through McDonald's or any other fast food because we're always in our car. So figuring out how we can plan, throughout the week our meals, and so we don't have to do that quite as often. The lack of nutrition knowledge. I'm sure you hear something different every week, so it gets kind of confusing, so you really don't know who to believe, if you want to believe Dr. Oz or if you want to believe one of the magazines. So a lot of conflicting information out there, and we're really not going to the credible sources of information. Again, with the sedentary jobs, and of course the quick fixes, the yo-yo diets, everybody wants to see that number on the scale go down really quick, and it's really nice. But if you're not making the lifestyle changes, a year from now you're going to end up in the same spot. So really kind of just thinking about your health, making it a priority, just putting in the time now. It'll take a little bit longer to get to the healthy weight or whatever, but at least it'll be more lifestyle long term, so you don't have to do this up and down anymore. So, okay, and then again, I'm sure you've seen these, just some nutrition basics. The old one was the food guide pyramid, but it wasn't very user-friendly. We didn't really know how much foods we were supposed to eat or what those colors meant, what the guy walking up the stairs was. So they kind of revamped it, even though it's not up and running right now. ChooseMyPlate.gov, every time I go there, I'm like, oh man. So hopefully soon it'll be back up there because it has a lot of great information. So it just makes it a little bit more easy to use, to apply to what you'd really be eating. So kind of starting off your day or the meal right off the bat, dedicating half your plate to veggies or fruits. 1/4 of your plate would be a smaller portion of your starches. You can still do your rice and pasta, but those we just need to scale back a little bit. And then a smaller portion of the proteins, because usually we kind of flip it. We have a huge piece of meat, a huge potato or something like that, and maybe a veggie if we're lucky. So we just need to flip that around a little bit. Veggies are very low in calories, so that kind of just helps overall bring down the caloric content of your meals. I read something a couple of weeks ago that I thought was pretty interesting. Say, normally you would scoop yourself out that much of broccoli and that's it. automatically just go give yourself a double portion. That's one easy, quick way just to double your veggies right there. And if we did that throughout the day, hopefully we get closer to our 5 to 9 servings of veggies. So, you know, we can probably get down to 2 servings of that, right? Okay, and then that kind of goes along with the balance. So like I said, right off the bat, kind of dedicating your plate to the veggies, and then just a smaller portion of your lean protein and your starch. And of course, every meal is not going to look like that, so that just gives you some different examples of what a lunch might look like or what a breakfast might look like. So just really trying to get at least 3 food groups in there per meal. That would be considered balanced. So if you can do that with your 3 meals, with 3 food groups, you know, that would be pretty balanced. You're getting a good source of all different nutrients and vitamins, and then again, just watching your portion sizes. So just easy things like that, just little tips kind of splitting up your plate to make it a little bit more manageable. Okay, and then of course the balance is important because each of the different food groups has a vital role, you know, plays a vital role in your health. So when you start to do diets or things that eliminate total food groups, you know, that's not the best way to go because you're going to be missing out on something major in your diet, and that's not going to be healthy long term. So just kind of thinking about how you can get a good balance of everything, and then just watching your portions of the ones that you really need to keep an eye on. Okay, and this is a little bit more in depth, but just so you know, we get calories from protein, carbs, and fat. So those are the 3 main sources. As you can see, protein and carbs have 4 calories per gram, fat has 9 calories per gram, and alcohol is almost like fat. It has 7 calories per gram. So not that you need to really focus in on this, but just to give you an idea of where we come up with these things we come up with. All right, and then thinking about your carbs and protein and fat, what proportion of your calories they should come from. So, you know, maybe if I asked you what you think you should be the greatest part of your diet, probably a lot of people would say protein, and maybe not, but usually we think of protein, we focus in on that, but really most of our calories should come from carbs. And we're not talking sweets and that kind of thing. Of course, we're talking healthy carbs, your whole grains, your fruits, your low-fat dairy products. So about 45 to 65% of your calories, depending on how active you are, should come from healthy carbohydrates. 20 to 35% should come from healthy fats, and then about 10 to 35%, again, depending on how active you are, will come from protein. So, you know, thinking about it, because I know we would like to do the low carb thing, but that's not necessarily the best way to go all the time. So, just gotta find that balance that works for you and not go too low on the carbs. All right. And again, just an example of a balanced diet. So say 1,500 calories might be a good goal for a woman. So 50% of carbs, that's about 187 grams of carbs. Not that you need to know that, but when you're thinking about those low carb diets, you know, you're shooting for 20, 30 grams of carbs, which is kind of unrealistic. So this just helps to show you why those aren't the best, you know, the best way to go with that. Even with someone who had diabetes, you still don't want to go too low on the carbs. You just want to make sure you're getting, you know, not overdoing it. Usually for women, 30 grams per meal. For guys, they can probably go up to 45, 60 per meal. So that's just something to think about. Snacks are usually about 15 grams. So again, we never want to go for the day very low on the carbs. And then the healthy fats, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and the protein. So, and that protein is even a little bit on the higher side. So that's, you know, usually we don't even really need that much, depending on how many calories you're looking at. Okay? So just a quick go through the food groups. The veggies and fruits, you know, we say in general 5 to 9 servings of veggies and fruits per day, which seems like a lot, but like I said, if you use those little tips, doubling your veggies at meals, maybe having a nice big salad, you know, doing the green smoothies, that'd be an easy way to get your 5 servings of veggies in and your fruit. So again, they just have the lowest calories, really, the veggies mostly. They have lots of antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, all, you know, working together to help keep you healthy, and a lot of them have components to help even prevent certain diseases, even some cancer. So fruits and veggies, really trying to strive to get your servings. I think that's one of the best things you can really work on, because, you know, if you're getting your veggies, if you're eating 5 servings of veggies per day, that's really going to help fill you up, so you're not going to have quite as much room for some of those other things that might be higher in calories. They're also a great source of fiber. I think sometimes we forget about fiber, and that, you know, something to really shoot for, about 25 to 30 grams per day. So maybe just a couple days track to see how you're doing, see where you can add some more in there, because that really helps with blood sugars, it helps with hypertension, your cholesterol, keeping you full, your digestion. So fiber is really just good for everything, so definitely want to make sure you get enough. And then again, just trying to get different colors in there throughout the day, just to make sure you're getting a wide variety of different nutrients, stuff like that. I know sometimes for me, I get stuck buying the same veggies and fruits every week. So, you know, I really try and make it a point to broaden out a little bit because there's so many different vitamins and minerals you want to try and get in there. Okay, and then milk or dairy. And we don't have to do cow's milk. If you almond, soy, that's still a pretty good source of calcium. So, you know, if you can't do the cow's milk, that's all right too. Just finding some other things that are a good source of calcium. We know it helps keep our bones strong. And when you do the dairy products, try and keep it the low fat or reduced fat. Just because the whole fat, 2%, are pretty high as far as the saturated fat, which we'll talk about, which is the bad one. Okay, and then your grains. You know, and I know we hear a lot about whole grains and we think white is bad. Of course, you know, the whole grains and the brown rice and the whole wheat pasta are going to have more vitamins and minerals. It's a good source of fiber compared to the white ones, but I don't really feel like it's the end of the world if you have something white. So really trying to get half your grains of the whole grains and then you have a little bit of room. But of course, just know that you're going to get more benefit out of the whole grains. So when you're looking at your whole grains, sometimes it can get a little bit tricky because sometimes it says honey wheat or it looks really dark like pumpernickel or something and you think it's a whole grain, but it might not really be. They might have added coloring or something like that. So really look for that whole as the first ingredient, whole wheat, whole rice, whatever it might be. So really just trying to choose your whole grains as often as possible. If it says 100% whole wheat or 100% whole grain right on the front, you can trust that, but sometimes it doesn't, so then you have to look to the ingredients. Okay, and then your proteins, of course, it's good. They're the building blocks for your muscle, your skin, your bones, blood, iron for your blood, has other vitamins and minerals that help keep you healthy. So really sticking to the lean meats or the non-meat choices even. Sometimes we can overdo it on the meat as well. Technically, we really don't need meat. We just need to make sure we're getting protein. So you can get protein from lots of things. You can get it from your nuts, your beans, your seeds. The grains have some protein in. So most foods have at least a little bit of something. So if you're eating pretty balanced throughout the day, even if you're not getting a ton of meat, I'm sure you're probably getting enough protein. So we don't have to be so concerned about this as I think we kind of make it out to be. So if you're eating balanced, you're probably doing pretty good with the protein. Okay, and then the fats and oils. You know, we think about this sometimes as an unhealthy thing, but there is different types of fats. So you have your healthier ones, that's the monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. So you don't have to remember those names, just know that those are going to be like your olive oil, your nuts, your seeds, your fatty fish, your salmon, that type of stuff. So you want to, you know, get some sources of healthy fats throughout the day. You just don't want to overdo it because when you think about it, just a little handful of nuts could be 170 calories, which is not bad, but if you're trying to lose weight, you just don't want to overdo it because it'd be really easy just to, you know, pick out of the container and eat 300, 400 calories of nuts before you know it. So things like that, you just got to portion out, you know, so you get the healthy fat, but you don't overdo it with the calories. So again, you can read all the things that fat does in our body, so it is a benefit to us. And then the unhealthy fats, like I said, are the saturated fat and trans fat. Saturated is going to come mostly from your animal products, so like your meats, the skin of the chicken, your red meats, the whole fat dairy products, that kind of thing. Look in here. You guys can look at this stuff later. I'm trying to think where the whole milk is. So when you're looking at whole milk, it has a lot more of the saturated fat, the artery clogging fat than the skim milk. And you can probably even get away with 1%. I would try and stick to the 1% in skim just because that's a lot of fat. Even in 2%, it's probably pretty much of the saturated fat. So that'd be one change to kind of get used to. I think it would be beneficial. And then there's the trans fats. Those are actually the worst ones for us. Those are going to have a big impact on our heart and our cholesterol and putting us at risk for heart disease. So both the saturated and trans fat increases that risk. But the trans, for whatever reason, that was something that was man-made to try and make things more shelf-stable. And then they realized how bad it was, so they're trying to get rid of the trans fats, but they still sneak in there. So just be aware of it, you know, kind of look at your labels. Ingredient-wise, if you see partially hydrogenated oil, that's like a code name for trans fat. Even if it might say 0, it could still have 0.5 grams, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if that adds up a couple times throughout the day, you could be getting too much, because we really want to try and get 0 grams of trans fat. So just keeping an eye on the labels for those. Okay, and then course, I see lots of water bottles here, so that's good. So water is good function for everything in your body, just helps it keep you working properly. Has no calories, no sugar. It's very, relatively cheap, I guess, if you can deal with the tap water. I guess if you don't get lost. But yeah, so definitely making sure you get your water. And we know the rule of thumb is about 8 cups per day. That depends on your body, how much you weigh, your height, that kind of thing. So that's a good rule of thumb, but some people might need more, some people maybe not as much. So, and then about 50% of your body is made up of water, so you definitely want to make sure you're staying hydrated. Okay, and then sugar, that's another big one that's kind of, a big contributor to gaining weight over the years, just because sugar is in so many things that we eat. As you can pass this around if you want, just some of the things that you might not even expect. Like, of course, the milkshake we expect to be high in sugar, but then there's the applesauce right next to it and almost has as much. So it gets kind of surprising when you start to look at those refined sugars. So it's up to you if you want to pass it around. Okay, so there's the naturally occurring sugars. That's going to be your sugar in your fruit, which is called fructose. Sugar in milk, lactose. So those are the ones we're not as concerned about because you're still getting healthy things with it. You're getting fiber in your fruit. You're getting protein in your milk. It's the refined sugars. It's that white table sugar that they like to add to stuff, which you're really not getting much out of. With the drinks here, this would just be like a large soda from McDonald's that has that much sugar in. And would you go home and take a spoon and eat this? Probably not. So kind of thinking about it that way. Same thing with Gatorade. Unless we are really working out harder than, longer than an hour, we really don't need this extra energy here because that's what it would be used for, if an athlete was drinking it. But for us, it just likes to sit around in our body. So, kind of just thinking about that too. Okay, and then how much is too much? Men, about 9 teaspoons per day. Women, 6. Oh, I'm sorry, those are tablespoons actually. Men, 9 tablespoons of sugar, women, 6 tablespoons of sugar, of added sugars. So probably this is already probably well over the 6 or 9. And we, on average, eat about 22 teaspoons per day. So that's a lot more, when 12-ounce soda already has 8 tablespoons of sugar. So really kind of thinking about that. Is that really worth your calories? Probably not. Okay, and then of course physical activity. I'm sure maybe Sarah talked a lot about this last time. But just really trying to make it a priority. Definitely one of the healthiest things you can do for yourself. Even if you don't get to the gym or something like that, finding something that you do enjoy to do. Obviously I play volleyball, so I'm a little bit of bias up there, but lots of different things you can do just to stay active other than just the gym. So just finding something that works for you. Also helps with stress and energy, sleep. So the recommendations for just heart-wise, aerobic-wise, is about 150 minutes. That would be about half an hour, 5 days a week, and 2 days of strength training. And I don't want to scare you guys, but for weight loss, they actually recommend a little bit more than that. So of course, you start at what you can and then work your way up to get in a good routine. So just a little blurb about exercise because they go hand in hand. Okay, and then just thinking about eating healthy when you're getting your exercise in there. Again, at the end of the day, it's just making sure you're eating balanced, not going huge chunks of time without having anything to eat. So if we're doing that, we're probably good. If we're really active, maybe if we're doing training for races or something like that, then maybe we need to put a little bit more thought into how much carbs we're eating and stuff like that. But just the general person who exercises maybe an hour a day is pretty good with eating just balanced and making sure they're not going too long without eating. So a nice healthy snack, maybe 150 calories or so. If you're not going to be eating for a while, it might be a good idea before you work out. So at the end of the day, just remember if you're trying to lose weight, you have to create that calorie deficit between eating a little bit less and working out a little bit more. So if we're working out hard and then we go overeat, it's not going to do us very good. So try not to reward yourself. I know sometimes, I worked out every day, I'm going to go out to eat, and then you're like, I just ate back everything I burned. So thinking about that, you got to get that calorie deficit in there to really lose the weight. Okay. And again, just for the average person who's working out, if we're eating balanced, we're probably pretty good on protein. If you're a bodybuilder or you're doing intense exercise or sports, maybe you need to get a little bit more, but usually we're pretty good. Water, again, just making sure you're drinking before, during, and after, and throughout the day. Like I said, the sports drinks, unless you're working out hard for longer than an hour, you really don't need that Gatorade. Unless for some reason you had like an issue where you might need more potassium while you're working out or something like that, or prone to cramps, I guess you could just make sure you're getting more in your diet throughout the day. But for the most part, we don't need the sports drinks. Same with energy drinks. It drives me crazy when people drink the energy drinks at the gym because it's like so much caffeine and then they're working out hard. I'm like, oh my goodness, afraid your heart's gonna explode. But anyway, so the energy drinks, the best thing for energy is to get your sleep and a healthy diet, making sure you're eating regular throughout the day so you don't have those big chunks of time where your blood sugar might get low and then you start to feel lethargic. So just really trying to focus in on staying hydrated with water and eating balance. Pretty much what you get through the physical activity. All right, and the portion sizes, again, just they've gotten huge over the years. 20 years ago, the bagel, only 140 calories. Not a big deal at all. Even if you have your egg on there, you'd still be okay. Today, they can run anywhere from 200 to 500 calories for a bagel, so you never really know what you're going to get. Same thing with the burgers and the popcorn. Everything has just gotten so much bigger. And now we're just getting used to that now. So if we went to the movie theater, we ordered a large popcorn and they gave us this little thing, we'd be like, what is this? So we just kind of have gotten used to those portion sizes. Okay, same thing with our plates and our cups. Everything has just gotten bigger over the years. So at home, if you can go back to the 9-inch plate and the smaller cups, that would probably help you a lot with the portions. Because it's a lot nicer to eat your portions off a smaller plate and it look nice and full than try and put these little portions on a big 12-inch plate and you're like, where's the rest of my food? So going back to those 9-inch plates. Okay, and then just, again, with the portions, just trying to, read your labels, look at what a real portion size is supposed to be, maybe a couple days, measure things out just so you can see what it looks like on your plate, because that'll just help you kind of get things under control with the portion sizes. And a lot of visuals, you can kind of memorize, like the deck of cards, and the ounce of cheese would be like 4 dice, so a lot of visuals just to keep in your head. Okay, and then the food labels. Do most people look at your food labels or read your labels now? Any specific questions on that? I know it's a lot of information, so I don't want to overwhelm you with anything. Any specific question on the food label? No? Okay, yeah, pretty much the take-home thing with the food label is just start at the top with your serving size. Right here, serving size is 1 cup. So I know for 1 cup, I'm eating 250 calories and everything else that's listed there. If I ate the whole container, I know I ate 2 servings and I can multiply all that good stuff by 2. So I ate 500 calories, lots of fat. So kind of just making sure if you're eating more than 1 serving, you got to account for that. The ones in mustard yellow are the ones you want to try and stay low on. So a quick and easy way to do that is the purple is the percent daily value. Anything on that, 5% or less is considered low, or 20% or up is considered high. So I can't see too good, but I think the sodium is at 20%, so this would be considered high sodium. Calcium is at 20%, so this would be considered high calcium. So for the good things, you want it to be a little bit higher. For those mustard yellow things, you want to try and keep it closer to the 5% or less. And then just thinking about when you are eating, kind of just getting the most bang for your buck. You really want to get the foods that have the most nutrients in, so you're just going to get the most benefit from them. So most of the time choosing those nutrient-dense foods. And of course, sometimes we're going to have, some treats that might be a little bit more calorie-dense and not, be giving us too much. But once in a while is okay. Most of the time, we just want to get our nutrient-dense foods, get the most out of what we're eating. All right, so this is just an example of that. The top 2, you just have basically your meat and your fries. So that's already like 1,200 calories for one, 900 for the other. So just by making some healthy substitutions, getting your veggies in there, loading up half that plate with veggies, you can still have the fries, just kind of cut back on the portion size and then choose a leaner meat. You've cut your calories in half. And I think, to me, the bottom one looks a lot more appealing, visually appealing, to look at, just thinking about enjoying your food and like actually making it look nice and taking your time with it. So those are just some other things to think about. Okay, same thing here. It's a slice of low-fat zucchini bread. So you hear low-fat and zucchini, you think probably healthy, not too bad. It's actually 580 calories, and over there is all the things listed that you could have for 580 calories. So lots of fresh fruit, even a whole wheat bowl there. Not that you would eat this all at once, but just shows you how much you can have for the same amount of calories. So just getting the nutrient-dense foods instead of the calorie-dense foods. Okay. And then just planning. So I know everyone's busy and we're always kind of on the go, but if just maybe on the weekends if you have more time, or during the week a little extra time, just kind of thinking about what's coming up. Make a list for your shopping, kind of maybe just plan some meals, snacks, packing your lunch. The grocery list helps to avoid those impulse buys. Oh, I'm hungry, I'm just going to grab this to eat on the way home. I do that sometimes. Try not to. Avoid those temptations foods. So, if there's something that's a real big struggle for you, maybe just deciding, okay, for a while I'm just going to keep it out the house because I know it's too big of a temptation. Ice cream, if it's in the house, you might eat half the gallon before you know it. So just avoiding those foods, and then when you feel like you can add them back in, doing it that way. And of course, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it's always good to go in with a plan. People are more successful when they're planning, writing things down, having a calendar, that kind of stuff. All right, and of course the magic question, what do I have to do to lose weight? Well, there's really 4 things that are important just to kind of get in balance to really be able to get the weight off and keep it off. And that's a healthy diet within your calorie needs, regular physical activity, stress management, which is a big one. I work with a lot of nurses, overnight nurses, always under a lot of stress. So until they really get that under control, it makes it hard because there's the stress hormone, I'm sure you heard, cortisol, that's released every time you're stressed. So, if you start to feel yourself getting to that point, maybe coming up with some stress management techniques, maybe some imagery or deep breathing just to kind of break that cortisol from, stressing you out too much. And then sleep quality and quantity. So really trying to work on those sleep patterns, getting a good routine. I know it's not always doable, but doing the best you can to try and get the 7-8 hours of sleep, because that's really important too. And then my role as a dietitian, like I said, just really focusing on those lifestyle changes. You don't want to think about it as a diet or say, oh, I cheated, because you don't want to set yourself up for failure. It's more lifestyle. Okay, so you ate out one night. Just get back on track the next day. It's not the end of the world. So just really, focusing on that and not so much on the diet part of it. Creating those healthy habits, like I said, really just getting into those good patterns and routines. Trying to eat your regular meals. Definitely starting out with breakfast. That's one of the most important things you can do, and then going from there. Never have those chunks of time where you're going 4, 5, 6 hours without having anything to eat, because that's just setting you up for disaster later. So just getting in those good routines, have a plan for what you like to have for a healthy snack, that kinds of things. I know Sarah talked about goals last time, so kind of thinking back to that, like what are your goals for this week, for the month, for the whole weight loss challenge or fitness challenge. And so maybe revamping your goals a little bit. And are some of you guys doing like a app like MyFitnessPal or a food journal? Okay, definitely a good idea. It just helps to learn your habits, to learn the calories, learn the foods that are more nutrient dense and not as much calorie dense. So that just helps keep you accountable. You guys can help keep each other accountable too. Just have a buddy or something to kind of keep you on track. Are you doing weigh-ins usually with the challenge or no? No. Okay. And I guess that'd be more for a weight loss thing. So just not all the time. Maybe once a week at most. Because if you're getting on the scale every day, you'll start to drive yourself nuts. So once a week is plenty, because those water fluctuations come from morning to night. So it's going to be a little bit different all the time. So once a week, plenty if you're doing a weigh-in on your own. And again, just the nutrition education, like we talked about the types of fats and that kind of thing. Just making sure get rid of any myths that might be out there. And then a lot of the small changes, it doesn't have to be huge goals, just little things to think about that will add up over time just to be part of a healthy lifestyle. I'm sure you do a lot of these already, taking the stairs, parking farther away, slowing down when you eat, maybe putting your fork down in between bites, especially when you're hungry. You usually want to eat really fast, and then you get done your food and you're still hungry, and that's just because your body hasn't had time to catch up yet and tell your brain, hey, I'm full, I'm cool. So just put your fork down between bites, doing the low-calorie or no-calorie beverages, water preferably. If you do something like a latte, just switching to a coffee could be lower in calories. If you're having if it's late at night and you're having a craving or something like that, maybe just brushing your teeth, that kind of puts lights out on the kitchen for the night. Your water bottle, dipping the fork in the dressing. And I said using an app, buddy up and eat off smaller plates already. So think about some little tips that just might help you stay on track throughout the week. Okay, and then these are just some characteristics of people who have successfully lost weight and been able to keep it off. So this is from the National Weight Control Registry. You might want to check it out. It has a lot of good success stories and just reading about what people have done. So they eat their breakfast daily. Like I said, it's one of the most important things. Really just helps wake up your metabolism, especially if you had an early dinner or something the night before. Especially if someone might have diabetes, making sure you're getting those blood sugars stable. It's a good way to get a good, start out the day with a bunch of good nutrients and things like that. They weigh themselves once per week, so they keep an eye on it. They don't let it get too far before they, bring it back down a little bit. They watch TV less than 10 hours per week. They exercise about an hour a day on average, and they maintain some kind of calorie control diet. So they have some idea of how many calories they're eating, whether they use an app or they do a food journal or whether they just have gotten good at knowing what works for them. Okay, and then my clients that have been successful, they're really just concerned about their health, making their health a priority. Of course, we like to see the weight come off really fast, but 1 to 2 pounds per week is a healthy weight loss. That's, you don't want to lose it too quick because, usually it's more water weight and things like that. So 1 to 2 pounds per week is a healthy weight loss. Successful weight loss in general is about 5 to 10% of your body weight. So even though maybe you feel like you might have more than that, just starting with that 5 to 10%, you already start to see a lot of good health benefits. So, not getting so overwhelmed with, what your end goal might be, just thinking about 5% of the time would be beneficial. Okay, and then they follow with me regularly, just, for accountability, check in, make sure they're not getting off track too far. They keep their food journal and use some other kind of app. They eat their regular meals and snacks, and they're getting some physical activity in there about 5 days a week. So that's just what I've seen so far with my clients that have done well. Okay, and then these again are just some great resources. I guess I should have took the first one off until they get back on track here, but all the other ones are good. You're going to find scientifically based information, a lot of practical tips, especially on the second one. eatright.org is the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, so all their information is reliable and has a lot of good fact sheets and stuff like that to help you out. And then just where I pulled the physical activity information about was the cdc.gov, and then I'm sure, like I said, a lot of you are already using maybe the myfitnesspal.com or the app for MyFitnessPal. So it's just an easy way to help track your foods and your exercise, that kind of thing. I think I have some slides after this. I should put this last. I can always go back to this if you want to write those down, or you might email the presentation. Okay, so quiz time. We are going to have a test. What important nutrient is removed from grains in the refining process? We talked a lot about all the good benefits of this nutrient. Blood sugars and digestion. Fiber, yep. Okay, and these are true or false. We should try to eat as little fat as possible. False, right? Yeah, we want to get about 25 to 35% food fat from the healthy fats. Okay, and then carbs should be avoided. If anyone says true, you get kicked out. No, I'm just kidding. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of fat. I don't think I mentioned this, but
True.
True. Yep. Yep. 3,500 calories, and this is 1 pound of fat. Which people get frustrated just losing a pound a week, but when you think about it, it's a really substantial amount. So that's a good, accomplishment to lose a pound of fat. And then the muscle, staying active, getting your strength training in there, because the nice lean body muscle looks a lot better than this. So I'm kind of just thinking about that. All right, and then the longer you can wait to eat, the better.
False.
And then we just went over the 4 key factors for weight loss.
Fast meals, physical activity, stress
reduction,
sleep.
And sleep. Yep. Okay. And then to lose weight and keep it off, you must create better. I don't know if I can write out and said it, but
Eating habits.
I'm sorry.
Eating habits.
And adopt a.
Healthy lifestyle.
Yep. So create better habits and adopt a healthy lifestyle. Okay. And then you might have already did this with Sarah, so this is just up there, refresher, maybe revamping your goals for this next week coming up. So again, just being specific, make it achievable, realistic, something set in stone that yes I can do. I can mark that off my calendar. So And then again, if you're not already doing the MyFitnessPal or some kind of food journal, maybe try it for a week or so just to get in the groove, just kind of be aware of your habits, see how you're doing with that. See, if any major food group is missing. You might find you're not doing very good on the veggies, might have to increase those. So it just helps you figure out, what's going on with your habits. Okay. And is there any questions that I can answer for you?
Are there any good resources? I mean, this stuff can be expensive. I've just noticed, and I think in the long run it's probably cheaper, but I was surprised on how. Are there any places that you found good resources to buy some of these healthier foods? Or?
You mean as far as purchasing, where to purchase lower budget or like lower cost
Right,
foods?
yeah.
I haven't been to it, but I heard there's a pretty good flea market or farmer's market that has some local stuff. Just kind of try and get what's on sale, try and make the most of the buy one, get ones, that kind of thing. Fruits and veggies that are in season usually are a little bit cheaper, so trying to get those, buy what's on sale as far as the fresh ones. And don't be afraid to do frozen or canned. They can be just as good, especially frozen, as long as you get the ones without any salt or sodium. Especially veggies. I know it's always 10 for 10 or something like that, so that's a way to get some veggies in there. If you do canned, maybe just rinsing off the extra juice, just get rid of that extra sodium. Sticking to the staples, your whole grain brown rice, the whole wheat pastas, your beans are a good source of protein. That could be like a meat replacement. Lentils are a really good source of protein, so doing soup, stuff like that. So kind of just sticking to the basics, like on those staples, and then finding out what's on sale, the fresh fruits and veggies or the farmers markets, that kind of thing. But I can email over a couple websites that might help have some more tips. So, and of course, if you're saving money, not buying some of the other stuff maybe you used to, then you might have a little extra to put towards the good stuff.
Do you have if you're flavoring your water, would you prefer to flavor it with the Crystal Light or with the low-calorie fruit juice?
That's probably just preference. It's up to you, I guess.
So you don't have a problem with the artificial sweeteners?
No, for most research, all research shows that they're fairly safe. I think I looked it up. I could have like 40 packets of Splenda as the upper limit or something like that. So of course we're not going to use that much. So, I don't think that's the biggest of our issues. So Splenda, those kinds of things. And there's a lot of the more natural ones, maybe trying the Truvia or the Stevia if you feel better about that. So it's kind of just personal preference how you guys feel about the artificial sweeteners. And you can always do the research too through the the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They switched their name, so they have some information if you wanted to make your own choice on that. But yeah, the fruit juice too, because that wouldn't have any artificial sweeteners, and just depending on how much you put in it, might add some calories, but probably not very many. So.
What do you think of? I'm sorry. This is a Dr. Oz thing, but he was pushing the coconut palm sugar. It's lower on the glycemic index.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
For those of us who can't have coffee without sugar.
Yeah, I honestly haven't heard much about the coconut palm sugar at all. So I guess you would maybe just have to look on the ingredients, see how many calories are in it, if it's comparable to regular sugar or not. A lot of those things kind of come and go, so I don't usually.
So really, no sugar is better than.
It depends if you're it depends if you have diabetes or if you're just trying to lose weight, because kind of depends on that. Because if you can get away with only 2 teaspoons of sugar in your coffee, that's only 30 calories. Probably not that big of a deal. But if you're drinking it all day long and you put a substantial amount in there, you might have to find a different way to go. So it all depends, on how much you use it. People ask me that about butter or margarine, and again, it depends how much you use it. So finding what works for you. If it's better off just watching the portion size, or just finding, something you use all the time. Maybe you want to find a healthier option.
You go to a salad bar, and I noticed that you get down to the end, and there's all these dressings, but they're loaded with stuff. Are there some good suggestions or ideas on what would be the best thing to select?
Maybe your own.
Yeah, if you're at a place like that, usually it's standard olive oil and vinegar. Of course, olive oil still have a substantial amount of calories, so you just gotta watch how much you're using. But at least that's the most natural one, I guess. Or a light one, you can usually get away with. Okay. As far as if you were to buy it at home, I don't know if anyone has used the Bolthouse Farms dressings. They're in the fresh section, but they're relatively low in calories and they taste pretty good, you know, compared to what a real dressing would taste like. So.
What are they called?
Bolt House Farms. They have ranch, honey mustard, salsa ranch, honey mustard, blue cheese. Yeah, so that's the best light one I found. But yeah, at a restaurant, it's kind of tough. I either would
It's
go
terrible.
a light.
You don't even know what kind of oils they have there. Is this
Right.
an oil and a vinegar?
Yeah, I'm hoping they at least use olive oil on their salad bars. So 1 tablespoon of oil is 120. So maybe if you only use half a tablespoon, that would only be 60 calories, and the vinegar doesn't have any. So that would be reasonable for a salad dressing.
Is there any rule of thumb on time? Like, you always hear the adage, never eat before bed, things like that.
Right.
As far as like when to stop eating, or if it's healthy, does that matter? Or just for digestion? Is there a rule of thumb about when you eat?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just depends on your schedule. So, you know, if 6 o'clock comes and you had dinner and you're I guess for weight loss, if you're done with your calories, you kind of have to maybe end it a little bit earlier. Of course, you don't want to eat a huge meal digestion-wise and lay down and go to bed. But I would say, you know, if you can give it 2 or 3 hours, that would be just a rule of thumb. But as far as, you know, if you're within your calories and you ate right before bed, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to store it as fat, just because you ate too close to bedtime. So, of course, we want to try and not eat too close. 2 to 3 hours, I would say, would be general rule of thumb. But there's no like real hard scientific evidence based on that. So maybe digestion-wise, I just don't know for sure. Any other questions at all?
What about dairy product? Like, you only like a little small plate off to the side of dairy, but you read a lot about how yogurt is good for getting rid of belly fat, or, you know, helps you, for mostly women, I think, to lose weight. But we should still limit dairy regardless of the benefits?
Yeah, about 3 servings per day would be fine. They just, you know, try and balance everything out throughout the day between your food groups. So, and I don't know how much scientific research is backed up for I mean, we definitely want to make sure we're getting good sources of calcium for our bones and everything. But as far as the weight loss and calcium, I have to look up some more research. But yeah, 3 servings per day is considered, you know, recommended. So it'd be 8 ounces of milk, an ounce of cheese, or like I think it's 4 to 6 ounces of yogurt would be considered servings.
How about if you're trying to speed up your metabolism? Do you suggest eating every 2 to 3 hours smaller meals? For us who are metabolism a little bit slower?
I mean, if that works for you, too, because it all depends on everyone's schedule. So some people do well with 3 meals and snacks in between. Some people can do those mini meals, and if that works for you, that's fine. As long as you're not really having those huge chunks of time without eating, you know, you should be able to get your metabolism on a decent schedule. I would say 4 hours would probably be the cutoff of, you know, that would be getting too long.
Is there any proteins that are the best nutritionally between either chicken, fish, different types of things?
I mean, nutritionally, just because some of the meats are higher in the saturated fats, I try and really stick with your lean meats. So, you know, your chicken, turkey without the skin, your fish. Like I said, beans, lentils especially, you know, are comparable to meat and protein. Lentils especially, beans are a little bit lower, but and then you're getting your fiber in as well, plus a lot of other vitamins and minerals. So even just thinking outside the box with other, you know, non-meat sources of protein. Anything else? This is kind of intimidating on the boardroom.
They're going to have all their questions after you leave.
Right. Got you. And then, like I said, you can think about if you have any specific topic or anything you want more specific on for the November class. Just address something you guys are interested in. All right, thank you for having me.